Hello everybody. I wanted to record a more lighthearted video, but I thought that this would be more important. And I also imagined that more people would know exactly what I'm talking about. But as I realized over the weekend and speaking to some people at work, a lot of people have no idea about this story. If you clicked on this video, then you probably know what I'm talking about. Maybe if you're on the internet, then you know what I'm talking about. We're going to be talking about the brutal murder of a Ukrainian refugee called Iryna Zarutska. She got killed in North Carolina riding a train. The person who killed her was the Carlos Brown Jr. This story is important because I realized that it happened on August 22nd, and it feels like only now, and the day we're recording this is September 8th. So it's been a little over 2 weeks since this happened, and there's been almost no news coverage. I was sitting at work asking some coworkers if they've heard of this story, and they said no. A few days ago when I was on Twitter, I thought this was just a meme at this point. I saw like Elon Musk reposting people saying, oh, it's funny how no one's talking about this. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? I'm seeing it everywhere. But now I see that it's just because of the pages I follow on Twitter that I saw this story, and this almost got no news coverage. And in many ways, I was like, am I being a conspiracy theorist? So I decided to go and check. I started seeing a lot of these screenshots on Twitter, people talking about this post getting taken down. On Wikipedia, this story. I started seeing people posting that New York Times, Washington Post, nothing has anything about this story. So I decided to go and look for myself. And what did I find? Well, New York Times has 237 results on Ireina Zeritzka, and not a single one is of the actual story, at least as of today that we're recording this. AP News had one result, and it was posted 24 minutes before we're recording this video. I'll remind you again, this happened 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago. Washington Post had 2 articles, both written on September 8th. This is a story that it feels like the only reason it's getting any media attention is because Elon Musk was started posting about it, and now Donald Trump's attention got put on it. It feels like this country has a way of turning things into a circus. I don't know how this became this debate about race, gender. When I look at this video of this murder, I see a person killing another person. It doesn't matter if they're black, white, if they're a woman, if they're a man. It really doesn't matter. But for some reason, this is being used as some kind of statistic for some kind of game where people want to get more people on their side, draw more attention to their narrative. And that's kind of the annoying part. This country has a way of making these, just everything a statistic. Whenever we see school shootings, it all becomes this game. You turn on the news and it's this person's name, how many people they murdered, what manifesto they left behind, all their videos, everything they wrote in their little notebook. You just give more light to these people to allow them to do this again. My attention got drawn to Wikipedia because there were screenshots going around that somebody was trying to remove this story from being posted. When I go on Wikipedia right now, you can't even find the person's name who did this. The entire story, the background, the killing itself, you read the Wikipedia page and there's no mention of the Carlos Brown. Now about the actual suspect here, in many ways I would love to say that this is all just speculation, but the video clearly shows what happened. It's coming out now that he was suffering from schizophrenia. He's been in custody for 14 times. He was let out multiple times. And this just goes into this deeper debate, right? I understand that there's going to be people out there who want this person to just rot somewhere. There are going to be people defending him, saying that he's just mentally ill. And I understand both sides. We run around saying that this is the best country in the world. Yet we have veterans on the street. We have people with mental illness walking around, sometimes committing crime, and they're just let out all the time. And that's because we have no resources. They have nowhere to go. I live in New York. People who live in California know this even better. Homelessness is a very big problem, and nothing is done. All these politicians, when they run for office, nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about education. Nobody talks about homelessness. Nothing. All this money being spent on everything but something that will impact people's lives. And yeah, this person probably should have gotten the care he needed, right? There should have been some kind of, foundation put in place. But instead, you let him out 14 different times. I'm not saying that everybody who's ever been in custody, who's committed a crime, they should be locked away because they're going to do something again. That's not at all what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that there's a trend. And if you clearly have somebody with schizophrenia out there, there should be more care given. But instead, what we're seeing now is people using this story for their narrative. You have Twitter accounts that are far right making this some kind of race war, and again, who genuinely, I feel, don't care about this girl. A lot of these people posting this, even Elon Musk, like they genuinely, I don't believe that they care about any of these victims. Whenever anything like this happens, it's always to like push some kind of narrative, to like escalate some sort of statistic and just divide people more. This country loves doing that, and then people forget about this quickly until the next thing happens. We've in a way, we're becoming very desensitized to this. Every time I travel to Europe and I have people asking me about school shootings, I talk about it like it's literally nothing, because there was a time where it felt like every week there was another incident coming out. And what are you supposed to do? Act surprised all the time? Not really. Not really, at least if you're a realistic person. And I understand, listen, everything's deeper than that. There's no like quick solution to things. But I think people need to understand that in many ways, society, us, the population, we run the media. They started posting about this only after people started calling them out. Everything has a way of making you feel small, even though you're not. They make you feel like you're this little person just going to work, going about your business. You come home and you're this like little person in this gigantic country on this big planet, and that you don't mean anything. When it's the other way around. We elect these people. We hold them accountable. And when shit starts hitting the fan, that's when they react. But it feels like a national disaster has to happen for people to actually hold someone accountable. And I wish in many ways that when people would read into Elon Musk's tweets or the way any of these politicians talk about these incidents, many of them don't truly care. How many times have you heard thoughts and prayers? I also think that if you're listening to this and you just think that I'm another conspiracy theorist and stuff like that, even if that's true, you have to agree that these companies, these news organizations, they give enough fuel for these people to make up their own conspiracy theories. When this person on Twitter or wherever is running around posting how, look, this is getting no media traction, no one cares about this, and they post the numbers, they post the screenshots, the zero posts, the zero coverage, what kind of people do you think they're attracting? And then what you have is, you have a cabal, you have a little tribal mentality where people gravitate to these people, and then you gain an audience, and then whenever they do push out some kind of dangerous theory, it's too late at that point. These companies give enough fuel for these theories to have enough power to convince people. Because I genuinely didn't think this is true. I saw this story all over Twitter over the weekend, and even that doesn't say a lot, because this, like I said, this happened on the 22nd of August. It is September 8th. A lot of these big companies are only just now posting this. I wanted to record a fun podcast today, but then I was at work and I was asking some colleagues about it, and nobody knew that this happened. And look, I'm not a saint or anything. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about, and that's the problem. Like there's a lot of things that are kept away from us. And look what happened. As soon as people started calling it out, slowly, these companies start posting at least a little bit to talk about this girl that got killed. And again, we go back to the statistics. This Ukrainian refugee, she's this white girl on a train minding her business, where this African American man comes in and kills her. Everything becomes a statistic. And at that point, if you're a conscious adult, it is up to you to filter it out and see past the lines. What do you think?
I don't have any positive thoughts on this.
But don't you feel like when they post this stuff, like I think yesterday I saw Trump post something like, "Oh, I'm getting like more information on this, and then I'll speak on it a little later."
Okay, what is that gonna change? Nothing. He's gonna speak on it. He's gonna say thoughts and prayers. We're very sorry. We apologize that this happened, and so on. He's gonna ramble on for couple minutes, switch the topic to something completely unrelated. It's not gonna bring her back. Instead of letting people go 14 times, maybe we lock them up, or we offer them some sort of rehab process to avoid this kind of stuff. When a person gets arrested 14 times, you would think that, oh, they go to jail, they go to prison, They go through the system's supposed to fix them, but then they go to those places and there's just as much crime going on in jail and prison as there is outside.
If you're somebody who's in Europe, or actually a lot of people in the US don't know this, but prisons here are privately owned. It is in the full interest of the owners of prisons to have more people there. So when in idea prisons are supposed to be this rehabilitation center for people, what happens? We all know this, right? Somebody goes to prison, they come out, you have this record, you can't assimilate back into society, so you go back to doing what you know. You go back in prison, it becomes a habit. This isn't anything new, obviously, but I feel like a lot of people don't know this. It's all deeper than just this person got killed. There's a lot of problems here that from time to time will get highlighted. And I know that this video, it's not going to do anything, right? This video is not going to be doing numbers or anything. I just wanted it out there because I think it's important. But every video that you talk about the government or whatever, it gets flagged. You mentioned elections, you mentioned politicians, Trump, whatever. It all gets flagged as like some kind of like political speech. So I don't have any expectations for this. I just want people to just ask the more important questions. This person who's suffering from schizophrenia is wandering around capable of doing crimes. There were people who knew about this. He's been in custody multiple times. This didn't happen once or twice. You know what I mean? And this is going to happen again. And what's going to happen is it's going to fuel more statistics. People are going to make more posts. They're going to fuel their narratives. They're going to use this as some kind of platform to talk about, oh, why it's important to join our side and stuff like that. And I really wish that people would look at this a little broadly and understand that this is another person doing this to another person. Just the black and white of it all is this person doing this horrific thing. If you watch the video, she comes into the train, she sits down, opens her phone. It looks like she came out of work. She opens her phone. The dude behind her is clearly a little unsettled, takes out his pocket knife, and just launches it right at her neck. That's what it is. There was no conversation. There was no before. We need more context. That's what it is. There's camera footage all over the place. So if you're somebody who's sitting there and you're like, well, we don't know the full story. Do you really, though? Like, in all honesty, this person was suffering from something. And we, as a country that's supposed to be the leader of the world, in every state, in every city, we have hoods. We have crime. We have weapons all over the place. And we're supposed to be the greatest country in the world. You know, and that's the worst part is like, even doing research on this, it's so difficult because there's just nothing. There's nothing available. You have to be just scavenging your way through it because you look at any of these reliable news organizations and they have nothing. The amount of people I've spoken to who are like, what's your source? What's your source? The problem is when I list reliable sources, they don't have the information. And not because it's fake information, but for some reason, there was a choice made to not report on this. I think it's crazy that local news will report every day that there's some kind of crime happening, some kind of carjacking, some kind of this, some kind of that. And this was just swept under the rug. And it had to be Twitter, the worst place, or X, the worst place where this got brought up. And even there, the people bringing this up, you also have to look who's bringing it up and what they're saying. So responsibility falls on us. That's what it is. We're electing these people. Nothing is being done. These shelters, you know, again, they'll tell you a shelter is being built. They don't tell you how it's being run. They don't tell you how the funds are used. They don't tell you what they do for these people. And then we just choose to move past them on the train and just not give a shit. That's just what it is. We decide to not care, and then this is going to happen again in a month, in 2 months. Something worse is going to happen next year, and we're all going to come back to this, or we're just going to forget it, just like we forget every time something like this happens.
I think we as a society are very
desensitized.
Yes, to a lot of stuff going on, because you go on Twitter, you go on Telegram, you go on Instagram, anywhere. You'll see someone getting murdered, someone's getting beat up all over the news constantly. Someone died. So this happened, that happened. And At this point, it's like something big happens, it hits the news for 3 weeks tops, and then disappears. Everyone just forgets about it. And then later down the line, when someone's arguing someone else, they start bringing up these things of the past, whereas almost everybody has forgotten about it at this point. It just,
Yeah, it feels calculated. I mean, even today I started looking this up, and guess what pops up on CNN? Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump's letter to Jeffrey Epstein was given to Congress. So even now, every day stories come out, and that's life. Things happen. Some stories are more important, but just knowing America, we're just gonna forget about this. I'm telling you, the media has a way of making everything a circus. Everything's some kind of weird game used to fuel statistics. And I feel like these are the kind of videos and stories that the media doesn't want you to know, or doesn't want you to pay attention to, at least. You'll have your circles, right? Like, I'm Ukrainian, and Igor's Ukrainian, so we follow Ukrainian accounts on Twitter. They posted about it. That's how we knew. That's why I felt a lot of people knew this. But again, this happened over 2 weeks ago. And only now we're getting the Washington Post writing something about this. I'm sure there's going to be people giving their reasons. And honestly, if you choose to interact with this video, if you choose to write a comment, repost it, whatever you choose to do, honestly, don't even focus on the fact that the media doesn't want to cover this, or whatever conspiracy theory you think I'm spewing. Talk about how we don't have nothing in place for helping these people. Veterans who, they're now on the streets, no better than a homeless person who's a drug addict. And they're just on the streets and nothing is being done. A lot of these people, mental illness. They always throw this around. Mental illness. This person was sick. This person had schizophrenia. This person was this. And what are we doing about it then? How many times does a person have to get put into custody for even petty crimes? 14 times? How many? How many is enough to get a little bit of a spotlight? 20? It's honestly bizarre. I saw that they tried to do a GoFundMe for DeCarlos Brown, and I didn't even, they took it down, but I just, part of me is shocked, but then part of me is like, of course, you know what I mean? There's always going to be people on the other side for some reason. And I really hope that at the end of the day, people try not to make this a race thing, a sex thing, because you can go look up crimes committed by people, and you'll find all types of people committing all types of crimes. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really else to be said. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to develop in the next few days, maybe, if we're lucky. Yeah, that was really all I wanted to say. I wanted to record a more fun video, and we're going to be putting up more videos, but this was important. Felt a little outraged about it. So, yeah, we got to take a look at ourselves as society and hold these people to account. Politicians, everybody. Nothing's ever being done. Nothing's ever said. Just swept under the rug and on to the next. So, thank you for watching. If you stuck with the whole video, give it a share, because it's probably, if any video you share, it probably should be something like this. Go do your own research. Go look it up yourself. I mean, that's what I did. I didn't believe a lot of this. I thought people were just being a little over dramatic about it not being covered. I saw Piers Morgan covering it. I saw Elon Musk reposted something. So I genuinely thought this was just being over exaggerated. And then I went and did my own research. So thank you for watching. And yeah,